You know, Errol, he joins me now from Washington. I want to ask you, Errol, typically when an opponent is sort of digging themselves into a hole, you kind of get out of the way. That's what people are in politics say you do. But Clinton has sort of stayed on this topic continuously. How should we expect her campaign to continue to hold on to this narrative?
Well, I think the reason you're not seeing the Clinton camp step out of the way is that this is part of their strategy. If you remember, Hillary Clinton brought up Alicia Machado during her closing statement at Monday's presidential debate. The following day, the Clinton campaign had a polished ad ready to go, pushed out on social media, telling her story. They also feel like this is a winning strategy because in many of the battleground and swing states, we've seen polls tighten recently between Clinton and Trump. What Hillary Clinton is trying to do is boost Clinton's support among minorities and women in places like Florida by showing Donald Trump's insensitive comments towards people like them over the past few years, and Donald Trump's kind of non-explanation, non-apology, doubling down on saying that, look, she was gaining weight. I was nice by allowing the Miss Universe organization to keep her employed, really just underscores their point. And when Donald Trump fired off those early morning tweets on Friday, it was a real gift to the Clinton campaign because you're essentially keeping Donald Trump from his positive message to voters and putting him on the defense. So the Clinton camp will likely keep pushing this issue as long as they can get mileage out of it. It's probably also why you saw Donald Trump on Friday in the New York Times say he will hit back hard on former President Bill Clinton's alleged infidelity. He says he will make that an issue for Hillary Clinton, but that very well too could backfire.
You know, there was a reason why he didn't hit so hard and mention the infidelities in the last debate. Republicans have said this isn't something that bodes well. We've seen it before in past elections, trying to bring up Bill Clinton's transgressions when it comes to infidelity. So where does the campaign go from here? Do they want him to go down this route?
The Trump campaign wants their candidate to stay on message. They don't want him ad-libbing. They don't want him firing off emotive tweets. On Friday during his rally in Michigan, it was essentially a teleprompter speech, throwing out all of Donald Trump's greatest hits, so to speak. We'll make America great again. We'll build up the military. We'll stop being taken advantage of by foreign nations in our trade deals. Anytime he gets off message, though, and gets more emotional in defending previous comments he makes without apologizing, it doesn't seem to bode well for him in the polls. And if you look back to the 1990s, when Hillary Clinton had to stand by President Bill Clinton in explaining those allegations against him, polling showed that voters, particularly women, actually felt sympathetic for Hillary Clinton. You know, she cannot be held responsible for what her husband did. And essentially, if Donald Trump brings up this topic and keeps pushing it, he opens the door, to use a legal term, in any of the allegations against him in the past few years. Let's not forget he is on his third marriage. This is not the type of topic, the type of issue those undecided voters who are fed up with the gridlock of Washington want to see candidates talk about. They want to hear about jobs, the economy, and issues that relate directly to them. This type of mudslinging isn't likely to get out those voters who right now feel like they want a third-party candidate, for example.
And finally, Errol, I want to ask you, the UK Independence Party has denied the reports that Nigel Farage has actually flown to the U.S. to coach Donald Trump for his next debate with Hillary Clinton. Farage has hinted that in his farewell speech at the political conference last year in England, that last month, that he might return to Trump's side following an appearance with him in August. What do we know about this?
Well, it's very interesting. I mean, these two have a somewhat of a love affair. You know, Nigel Farage was characterized as a firebrand in the UK. The head of the UK Independence Party really pushed for what is now known as the Brexit vote, which succeeded and won. He did it, critics will say, on using an anti-immigrant kind of sales pitch and banners and billboards, but it was successful and surprised many people. Now, he has since stepped down from the UKIP leadership, but when Donald Trump was in Scotland and the Brexit vote succeeded, he said it was great, and it's a similar type of thing he'd like to see in the United States. So that's why Nigel Farage joined Donald Trump in Mississippi. The key question here, though, on if he will now help Donald Trump prepare for a debate. I mean, Nigel Farage is a very charismatic and big figure. The key question is, which new voters will he attract to the Trump camp? I mean, you have early voting in many of these swing states beginning in the next few days and weeks. In many ways, the election has already begun, and Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are fighting not just to mobilize their base, as Nigel Farage will do for Trump, but to really mobilize those folks in the middle, those undecided voters who sometimes lean Democratic, sometimes lean Republican, to head out to the polls for their candidate. The question is what Hillary Clinton is doing with Alicia Machado going to get those voters out for her, and will Nigel Farage really make a difference for the Trump camp? The Trump camp has denied that Farage will help Trump in debate prep, but we should note that we just saw footage there of Farage joining Trump in Mississippi. They denied he would join Trump at that event until he was seen on stage. So we're not sure what to make of it, but I feel as if the Trump camp is trying to do whatever it can at this stage to make an impact.
I don't know, Errol. I haven't seen him sometimes in the past listen to his campaign managers, listen to his children. I'm not sure Nigel Farage is going to win over this man necessarily. He seems to be his own man on that one for sure. Donald Trump. Thank you. Errol Barnett in Washington.